Good day and welcome back to another Dbz Dokkan video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the new best stages to farm blue and green incredible gems. As always, with a story update comes a new question of which stages are the best or remain the best for farming incredible gems. Now, the original best stage for farming green incredible gems was 29.1. And this is because you get these little nodes on the map whereby you can pick up quite a few gems. Blue tiles will give you 1, question marks will give you between 2 to 3, and the fight against Dora gave you around about 2 to 3 as well. So you would get on average between 10 to 14 green gems, which was a pretty good haul in the beginning. For blue gems, fight against Dora 2 was also the go-to stage. It very frequently would give you around 10 blue gems, and as well required a little bit of map maneuverability, but along the most part wasn't really too difficult. Both of these stages required you to be quite manual. They required you to be quite obviously processing the map. So you need to choose the correct tiles, try and maximize your hitting of the blue tiles, the question marks, and this would enable you to get a sizable amount of blue and green gems. So 29.1 and I would say 29.2 were probably the two best stages for farming green gems, at least for me personally. There were some other stages that could net you a decent return depending on RNG, 29.3 being one of them, but definitely 29.1 and 29.2, if you were looking to farm gems as much as possible, were definitely the stages that I think were the best in highlight to receive these rewards. Now, obviously we've received a new batch of stages, and I've done a little bit of research into them. I've run them a couple times, let's put it that way, quite a few times, and just to determine which ones are currently the best for farming gems now. And there's a couple options I want to bring your mind to, but really we want to look at green gems. So there's two options for green gems. Realistically speaking, both are very different in nature. So we have Captain Ginyu here, 29.5, and this gives you the ability to earn a pretty decent amount of green gems. You can actually earn well, depending on the drop from Captain Ginyu, you can actually earn a sizable amount. On average on this stage, I would actually earn 11 green gems, which is a little bit lower than the Dora stage, but isn't that bad. 11 comparative to the 10 to 14 that you get on the Dora stage was pretty good. The main thing being there dependent on how many Ginyu himself dropped. If he dropped 10, you were in the money. The Go 10 stage is distinctly different. You have some blue tiles here. You can get 2 at a time. So no matter what you do, if you place your tiles right, you can get 2 at a time. But Go 10 himself can drop between 10 to 20 green gems. Now that means that your lowest return you can get realistically on this stage is 12. And the highest return you can get on the stage is 22, at least from what I've seen. And on average on this stage, I was netting 15 green gems. Now, there are things you lose out on. For example, you don't have a lot of fights here. The Captain Ginyu stage is nice for doing a bit of both, link leveling and a bit of green gem farming, whereas this stage specifically is just straight green gem farming, and very efficiently. 30 seconds in and out, and you've managed to grab yourself a bevy of green gems. Personally speaking, when I look at green gems, I do think that my favorite stage for this is probably going to be 29.7 if I'm looking at speed running it without wanting to manage the map. If I want to manage the map, I still think Dora gives a pretty decent return. However, I think if I want to cut both, I will probably go Captain Ginyu. So if I want to link level and farm green gems, I'm going Captain Ginyu. But the best stage is going to be 29.7. It's the most efficient. Now, we have a couple mentions for blue gems. When we talk about blue gems, there's a couple options. So firstly, we've got this stage. Now, this stage is very, very similar to 29.3 in that you have 4 auto fights. Now 29.6 is not great for farming gems. Firstly, this first fight is against 5 enemies. which means it can sometimes take a while. It's not necessarily the best, and on average it was only netting me 5 blue gems in total, which really is not that much. The best stage previously for blue gems was Diora 29.2, and that on average got me around 10 blue gems. So not only am I losing out on blue gems, but for farming purposes in terms of link leveling, it's an okay stage, but it's really not the same as running 29.3, which was a great stage for getting both green gems and as well as farming link levels. So if I'm farming blue gems, if I'm absolutely desperate to get blue gems, maybe farming this stage is not the best. 5 per run is pretty low comparatively, and honestly it's just not really worth it when there's already a better auto link leveling stage for dropping green gems. And like I said, it does take time. Fighting 5 enemies in the first round is always a bit of a schlep, because unless you have an AoE unit, most of the times you're probably going to end up having to go 2 rounds against them, and that just causes problems. One nice thing I will say is it is a decent alternative if you're looking to auto link level and you already have a green gem collection, so that's obviously great. But now let's talk about the most efficient stage for blue gems. So this will raise some contention, but the final stage against Bardock is very iffy. Although it is essentially a carbon copy of Goten, the drop rate of the 10 blue stones is a lot lower to me than it seems on Goten's side. I've run this stage in total around 10 times on each difficulty variously, and the drop rate of the 5 blue stones is pretty high. On average for this stage I only ended up getting 8 gems, which isn't a lot, but it is definitely better than before, and it removes a lot of the admin of the Diora stage, which requires you to manage the map a lot. Bardock gem drop rate is pretty much entirely dependent on Bardock, and you know, to cut a long story short, map management's not a big issue here. So if you're someone who really hates managing the map and is looking for an auto-efficient way to farm blue gems, then Bardock is probably your go-to fight. 29.8 does produce on average more gems than 29.6, and it requires no map management whatsoever. If you're looking to manage the map and want to consistently farm blue gems, then 29.2 is still probably my favorite, but I honestly would say that 29.8 is really up there if you're looking for the easiest option. 29.8 is definitely a lot easier, quicker, and simpler to run than 29.2, and it requires no map management, which is pretty clutch when you want to think about things in general. But that's it to kind of talk about the stages. Obviously, why do you want to farm green and blue gems? Well, you want to farm green and blue gems because there is a whole bunch of treasure associated. Not only is the EZA for Elan Vegito Blue one of the items that you can get with green and blue gems, but Elder Kais and Supreme Kais and medals and memory keys are all associated with these gems as well. Not to mention a couple Prime Battle EZAs have units that drop from these currency rewards only, so there really is a whole incentive to kind of get a whole bunch of this currency. That's it from me. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time. Bye.